Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining our webinar today, Building Intelligent Websites with Sitecore and Coveo, how Fish Tank used intelligent search to create visual, engaging, and contextually relevant experiences on Enbridge.com. I'll be your host. My name is Rachel Bosley. I work on the marketing team here at Coveo, and I'm really excited to be part of today's session. I'm also thrilled to introduce today's speakers. Our first speaker is Mark Floysand. Mark is the Chief Marketing Officer at Coveo. He has over 20 years of marketing, sales, and general management experience in the technology industry, spanning blue chip and startup companies across 3 continents, including Apple, Adobe, Untangle, and WeVideo. Mark was most recently with Sitecore, a Coveo technology partner where he led product marketing. Our second speaker is Dan Cruikshank. Dan is a 4-time Sitecore MVP based in Calgary, Alberta, and he is the president of Fish Tank Consulting, a company focused on using Sitecore and Search as a canvas to build engaging digital experiences. With over 20 years of experience in the field, Dan has a passion for innovation and is dedicated to creating unique technology field solutions for his clients, as well as sharing his vast knowledge with the Sitecore community. I have a couple of housekeeping items to cover very quickly before we get started. First, everyone is in listen-only mode. However, we would love to hear from you during today's presentation. We'll be answering questions at the end of the session, so please feel free to send those along using the Q&A section on your screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive the presentation within 24 hours of the conclusion of the event. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the webinar, Building Intelligent Websites with Sitecore and Coveo. Now let's get started. Mark, I'll hand it over to you.
Rachel, thank you very much, and welcome everybody to today's session. We have a lot of ground to cover, and obviously your time is important, so we are going to keep to the clock. An ambitious agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about relevance, just to put this in context, why it's so important to have relevant content and relevant experiences presented to your customers. Some of this may go without saying, but we also just want to set the scene. Then spend a little bit of time talking about intelligent websites. What are they? How do they work? Specifically focus on intelligent search, and really then drill in and see a worked example in the Enbridge site. So without any further ado, leaping straight in here, the key thing to take away is that we clearly understand that relevance is the currency of the digital age. Forrester have been advocating for some time now that with the expectation that customers have, personalized experiences are super important, and it's not just in terms of what is presented, but really every interaction they have with your organization. How can each of those interactions be more specific to them? How can the content dynamically be customized to them? Your business is relevant to them. Let them know, help them understand that. And, we live in a world where effectively, as I think everyone's familiar, Amazon has changed the expectation that consumers have. They've delivered personalization at scale and have done successfully now for coming up for 20 years. Jeff Bezos is now the 3rd richest person on the planet, so they must be doing something right. And what they've changed is the expectation that consumers have of web-based experiences. And as such, how can we help and how can all organizations help meet that expectation in the minds of consumers by providing more relevant content, more engaging experiences, and constantly focusing in on providing the most salient content where appropriate. A large part of that is recognizing that relevance fundamentally is at the heart of all personalization efforts. What is pertinent to the matter at hand, whether that's around a case or a person or whatever it happens to be. And we really see that relevance is the sum total of many different facets that are available to be utilized within, for example, a Sitecore web content management system. Things like profiles and locales. Where are people? What do you know about them? What's the context of what they're doing? What sort of interactions are they expecting? Someone that's interested in financial information may have a different set of expectations to someone who's interested in, community projects. So, what's their intent? What's their desire? What are the kind of interactions that they've had? And really the sum total of all of that data can be harnessed to provide more relevant and more engaging experiences that are personalized for every visitor. the same time, it's more than just that. It's about the recognition that this is almost a new form of currency. The ability to have highly valued interactions with customers manifests itself in higher conversion rates, longer or high, stronger customer loyalty, longer time on site, higher engagement rates, and so on. So within that search, so what of search? We think of AI-powered or artificial intelligence-powered search as really being central to this experience. Search too is Google's 18 years old. It's a grown-up. It can vote, and in some states it can drink. So if we think of that, the experience for many folks is that they have grown up in an environment where search is a given and relevant search is expected. So how do you bring that to your site as well? How do you provide, yes, content when someone's looking for it, you get them the information they want, excuse me, but perhaps more importantly, relevance, relevant content about things that are pertinent to them based on what they asked, who they are, what they're doing, and what they're likely to really have meant. And so a large part of this is equipping your system with the ability to learn from data and positive business journeys. How can you have analytics under the hood that are effectively helping people see or help the system itself learn what worked? What's the most relevant content as evidenced by people's click streams? And ensure that there's kind of an automated process of recommending content based on the context that they work within. At Coveo, we've actually gone a step further and working with many of our clients around things like relevance. We've developed a relevance maturity model, which I'll just spend a minute or two on to put it in context. But think of it as the ability to say, the further along to the right one goes, the more moving from being responsive to proactive and ultimately to predictive, by being able to recommend more and more relevant content utilizing technology, you actually yield a higher and higher business return as you move through those stages. To our mind, that's got to start to be positive with at least securing or having a secure unified index of all the information you want people to see that ranks the information accordingly based on its importance. So that's central. Enabling people to navigate their way through these things is critical so that they can further fine-tune what it is they're looking for. The ability to actually tune that relevance based on certain promotional goals that you may have or certain characteristics that might be pertinent to your audience. Starting to use other contextual clues such as, well, what else are they doing? What is the task or the application they may be involved with? Can we further refine the relevance of that content? Ultimately, looking at what other suggestions can one make based on having identified what it is they're looking at, who they've engaged with and so on. How can one provide suggestions as to related content? And ultimately, enable machine learning to auto-tune those recommendations, to, if you like, take a lot of the pain and the legwork out of the merchandising process and frankly build trust in the machine to make intelligent content predictions based on the appropriateness of that content to each visitor. And so if we think of it like, why does it help you? Well, let's think of the consumers themselves. As I said, Google's been around a while. The expectation is there, and equally, if we think of the world we live in, the volume of mobile-based interactions is going up sharply. It's imperative for us to ensure that when someone's interacting with your site on a mobile device, that the results they're getting are even more, top ranked for relevance. People haven't got time to be scrolling through pages and pages of information, nor do they want to on a relatively small screen. And so, the importance of having the right information surface first is even more profound in a mobile environment. There's some data to back this up as well. So if we look, for example, at site search by the numbers, if you think of what happens when someone's on a site and they're interacting with the search experience, 43% of those are already in a kind of a mode of looking for more product or category specific information. They may have already done some prior homework, they may be prior visitors, but they are, by using that search tool, they're expressly indicating that they're looking for more specific information. And the data shows about 43% of them are already at the kind of product and category level of research. It also turns out that they convert more often than those that don't conduct a search on site. So what this is saying to you is not that people that search are necessarily, different. It's just they're further along in their research process. They're looking for specific stuff. They're more ready to convert, and therefore, they are a clear target audience for you deep in your funnel. And they spend longer time on site. They're actually, researching. They're looking for serious information. They're not contributing to your low bounce rate or your high bounce rate numbers. They are deep and they're doing their homework. What's also key, we understand clearly, is that as folks grapple with this area of personalization, that the priority on personalization in terms of putting personalized content on the website is very high if we look at the graph on the left. And the analytics to understand what's actually working are equally high if we look at the graph on the right. Where are you spending your money according to Forrester? And from a Coveo point of view, we are able to help you on both of those. We work integrated into the Sitecore environment to ensure that the right content is in the right place. How to provide more relevant content recommendations through Sitecore to meet this need. And equally, under the hood, provide the analytics to identify what content is working and where there may be gaps. We'll touch on a little bit of that later. Think of it like this. Search is way more than you thought it was. Driving relevance using AI-powered search can effectively involve at least 5 elements. And at the one hand, clearly the search box itself, making it more prominent. The search page, there's more you can do to personalize the results page itself. We'll see some beautiful examples of that shortly from Dan when he looks at the Enbridge site. But even deeper, utilizing search as a basis for driving some of the components of your site to improve the relevance of that content itself. And all you're really doing is using search behind the scenes to fundamentally change the user experience. Bringing more relevance to that content in an automated fashion, harnessing machine learning. And as I mentioned, being able to look and understand what the analytics are saying, where there may be content gaps. I'm going to skim through each of these in turn so that I can, hand over to Dan and, let you see some of this stuff in the real world. But a couple of prior customer examples just to illustrate. If we think of the search box, what's absolutely key is that your search box works harder for your customers so that they don't have to work hard at finding your content. Having intelligent queries that automatically suggest terminology, terms that have worked for other people, based on analytics that are recommending effective searches. That's a key piece of it. Obviously taking care automatically of things like typos and mispronunciations. We have finger trouble. People might be doing this on a phone with big thumbs and small buttons. And your search box needs to be robust to take care of that stuff and automatically recommend the most likely term that's going to help someone find what it is they're looking for. Again, based on data analytics. And that's where really the advanced query suggestion can tap into information not just from what happens to be inside your Sitecore environment, but also bring visibility to content outside of it as well. How do you start to harness the realms of content across your organization and make all of that available in that same search interface? Also stacked and ranked and recommended for your customers. The second thing is this notion of the search page itself. How to get deeper engagement on those search pages. We've all seen a Google search page, It's got all the stuff down the middle. It's got the, sponsored stuff on the right and the top. And we've lived with that paradigm for years. That's fine. Well, on your site, there's a whole lot more you can do to tailor it and make it specific to the business you're in. In this example, which happens to be a travel example, this is still search. But you can see that the results are presented in ways that are much more engaging for the visitor. They're more visual, They're tailored to this business. And all of that stuff should be customizable for your unique business and the experience you're looking to deliver. That said, it also shouldn't be one. One of the benefits of utilizing Sitecore, of course, is that it has a very rich personalization and persona capability. And so if, for example, you were a business traveler rather than, let's say, a family traveler, if you're the travel website here, you may choose to specifically provide different search pages for different persona groups. Our business profile might be much more interested in, for example, price ranges and departure times and cabin class as a set of facets, whereas if someone is more of a family profile, they may be much more interested in, frankly, flexible prices if they go a day or two later or earlier, and what sort of attractions might be nearby. This is the same information in the back end, presented in different ways based on what's the most appropriate search experience for your visitors to navigate through. Now, what about search-driven? So there's no reason at all why you can't offer your customers those Amazon-like features as well. The people that viewed this also saw that. Featured content versus recent content, related content and trending content. The data under the hood needs to be able to provide automatically information that might be related to the matter that's being researched or looked at. And equally, from a recency point of view, what else has been found valuable by your visitors that can also be presented to your users. This goes even deeper. That search-powered capability can actually drive the components themselves in Sitecore. And you're going to see a great example of this with the Enbridge property. This is really what Fishtank have done and pioneered. It's got under the hood and take advantage of the ability to drive the experience itself, utilizing search under the covers. And we'll see that in action. From a relevance point of view, if we think of that fourth bullet, how to take advantage of things like machine learning capabilities and usage analytics to have a process that understands what people are really trying to do and really harnesses this automated power to constantly analyze the search activity, learn what was useful, what did good look like, and optimize that for subsequent visitors. If there is for example, if a desired outcome on your site is to have, I don't know, people register for a particular application form or download a tool or click to install an app, if that's what good looks like, you help the system know by saying this is the desired outcome, and it learns what paths, what content helped towards that goal, and indeed those that didn't, and uses that information constantly to refine the recommendations so that it's recommending content that drives towards your desired goals. Excuse me. And then, of course, from a Sitecore point of view, if you're storing profile data, where Coveo actually integrates very deeply into Sitecore so that we can actually take advantage of all of the information that exists within the Sitecore profile cards. So those folks that are familiar with Sitecore will know that it stores an immense amount of information. Coveo taps into that to help drive the personalization process and enables you to effectively adjust and adapt search results and the presentation of those based on what's known about those individual profiles. Finally, from an analytics point of view, if we think of what you want to be able to see as a marketeer is, well, what are people looking for? What are the search trends? What gaps exist within my content? What were people looking for that, frankly, there wasn't a result for? What about a 404 page? How do I stop that? From a user activity point of view, who's looking at what actions did they take, which profile groups did what, and ultimately what led to conversions? If my site is around, for example, self-service, what content helps people take care of themselves? And so that's enough of the theory. Hopefully that's given you an overview of the importance of relevance, why we believe it matters through the personalization process, and how AI-powered search can effectively help you drive that across those 5 elements. I'd like to switch at this point over to Dan, because Dan is effectively going to pick it up from here and give you a little bit of context about one of his clients. So bear with me while I switch presenters at this point. And just while Dan's bringing this up, as you heard in the beginning of the introduction, Dan is president of Fish Tank Consulting and has been an MVP 4 times around. So delighted to have him as a Coveo partner. And Dan, take it away.
Hey, thank you very much, Mark, for the introduction. It's always challenging to follow such a nice accent. But thank you, everyone, for having me today. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you, Coveo, for the opportunity to work with you on this webinar. I think we got a lot of great information to cover. So if I'm thinking about Coveo and Sitecore, truthfully, you know, I'm just an integrator. I'm an implementer. But these are 2 world-class technologies that, when we combine them together, I genuinely believe we can create incredible experiences with them. And before we get into it anymore, I'll just talk a little bit about Fish Tank Consulting. That's probably not that familiar to many people on the call, but we're a technology-first company. So what I'd mean by that is when we traditionally we're going to talk about websites today, we're going to talk about search today, but our approach isn't necessarily brand and UX first. Our approach to solving problems and working with companies is definitely focused on the technology. What problems can we solve? How can we bring more ROI to the content authors, the customers, the users of the website? Because organizations, they're investing a lot in this technology, and it's really important that they get the most out of it. So that's where we start. And so to do that effectively, we actually focus on only doing 2 things. We focus on customer experience, and we focus on search. So our customer experience platform choice is Sitecore. We exclusively only build in Sitecore, and for search and relevance, that's Coveo. And like I was saying, the 2, they have an extremely synergistic relationship, and that's why we stick with them, because they work, because we've been able to do really great things with them. Always really impressed to work with them. So something I'd like to talk through here, just broadly, is the idea that search is more than we think it is. I think, and Mark touched on it definitely up front, but the idea that we think of search as being keywords and lists of information with titles, I think we really got to move past that. For us, search is really a relevance platform. You know, when someone enters keywords and we're seeing that information come back, what they're really getting is information relevant to that query. But if we take it a step higher, it's really a platform delivering relevant content. What that looks like, how they interact with it, that's all stuff we control. But underneath the hood, we definitely conceptualize search as being a relevance engine. And I just think the further we can push along towards not thinking of it traditionally as search, if we just think of, do we need relevant content here for our customer? You know, how do we get in that relevant content? We're actually thinking of search. We're actually thinking of relevance. And Coveo is a great solution. So for relevancy impacting the authoring experience, there's just a few things I want to touch on here. So the current authoring experience, we have 2 sides here, content creation and experience creation. Traditionally, we probably think a lot about content as it relates to content. So when we're creating content for a website, we're putting it within an IA and we're describing it in relation to, you know, other content. Like, is it under About Us? Is this jobs content? Does this go on the home page? We're very much just thinking how it relates in the picture of our IA. The next evolution of that is we don't want to think about content in terms of how it relates to other content. We want to think of how our content relates to our customer, right? So start to describe our content in terms of our customer. Start to write content for our customer, because ultimately content doesn't belong in your website in a static IA. Like, the destination of your content is in your customer's hands. So definitely the next evolution in that, describing content in the context of your customer. And then the other side of working in a system like Sitecore is the experience creation. So typically will be manually authoring these relevant experiences. And that's a bit of a challenge. I mean, it definitely works. But if we just think of all the different elements that a customer has, their location, are they a prospective customer or a current customer? Are they, which personas do they fall into? Are they a home buyer? Are they looking for a mortgage, maybe in the case of a bank? We have all these different aspects of the customer. And if we're going to try to create relevant experiences for each customer, it really becomes very onerous when we look at the level we want to personalize, like Mark was saying. The more we can personalize, the more relevant the experience is going to be. But it just becomes too difficult across too many aspects of the customer to manage that manually. So we'll often just pull it back and say we'll only target by persona, or we'll only target by location, because it takes effort to create those relevant contextual experiences. But the evolution of that and how Coveo can change this is Coveo can automate that entire relevancy experience. So we can actually take all the information we know about the customer, throw that all at once, everything we know, and it's always going to give us the most relevant piece of content for them. So that allows us to get specific in a way, almost a risk-free way, where we're always going to get the best experience that we just can't achieve without a solution like Coveo. So I'll get the goods here for Enbridge.com. Fishtank's very lucky to be a partner with Enbridge. Enbridge has been a great company to work with, great IT, great communications, really great vision. They're a pleasure to work with. They're one of the largest companies in Canada now. I believe they're the 4th largest company. And their whole website is based on Sitecore and Coveo. I would actually say when we get into looking at it, it's probably as much Coveo as Sitecore, which is pretty unique for a traditional Sitecore implementation, but it'll be, I'm really excited to share. It's definitely built a whole new platform for them to author and manage their content. Excuse me. So I won't go into too depth into the theory behind it. There's definitely a lot of thinking and planning that went into building Enbridge.com. But one key principle of it is these 3 pillars of discovery. And this is how users are going to discover content. So we still have a traditional IA, traditional information architecture. It's menu-based. People are going to be hunting for information. They're going to find what they're looking for, drill down, breadcrumbs, all that stuff. But it's very important, especially in an organization as diverse as Enbridge is when it comes to organizing their content and all the different categorizations of it, is to have a user-driven approach. So search is definitely a first-tier kind of citizen, first-tier element of Enbridge.com. And the other pillar for discovery of content is location and broadly relevancy. Because Enbridge, they do real work like in North America, across the globe. They're not a virtual company. They're in communities. They got hands on the ground, boots on the ground. So it's really important for them to be able to communicate where they are in relation to the customers of their website. And the more practical implementation of that here is tiles. Tiles is, again, a broad concept implemented across Enbridge.com. The website uses a dynamic grid framework and what we're calling tiles here to build up things like landing pages, the home pages, calls to action. For the type of experience we've created here with Enbridge.com, and I'd say for any other site, I talk about it has a specific design language, and in that again I'm talking about tiles, because it gave us this construct to build. You need to have this common understanding of what content and components can be like if you truly want to maximize its value and use it everywhere. So again, to go along with this metaphor of tiles here, every page on Enbridge.com can exist as a tile. Of course, you can view it as its normal web page, but you can take any page, insert it anywhere, it'll appear as a tile. And all components as well, things like surveys and stock tiles, which we'll look at, all functionality, again, follows the same design language and theme of tiles. So it has a defined methodology we're working to when we're creating new functionality for the website, and we're also going to get the usability that we're looking for. And again, everything has a location. So we had location as a key pillar, but literally everything has a location. You type an asset, you're entering content, you type in the city, you press save, and all the metadata about where that page, that asset exists, gets added to it. So then we can use that for part of the experience. So the thing we've achieved when I talk about these tiles is that we've actually been able to blur the lines between where you see search and where you see authored content, right? So when you see authored content, it's going to be explicitly placed rows and tiles, but using search, we've actually been able to return the exact same content, the exact same experience, but have it be relevancy driven. So, you know, I might know which is what on the site, but it's pretty tough to tell from the outside. And just to set the framework here, or the groundwork for some of the examples here, just a quick tour of the tiles. We'll see the tiles have different themes, different colors. You know, the same content can have multiple looks. Here's your questions tile, video tiles. You have poll tiles here at the bottom, map tiles. We'll touch on these. Question tiles like FAQ tiles. We'll look at these as well. Stock tiles. And here's just an overview of the search page of a screen capture. Here we're actually looking at the same searches, just captured at two different moments. So the search is building really dynamic visual pages in real time, and even the way it's assembling the pages is dynamic. So if you see the first result, there's actually NYSE EEQ on both of them, but we're getting different views of the stock. And again, just another example of that. So now I'll jump into the live demo for Enbridge.com. Just bear with me one moment while I change screens. Okay, and Mark, I might invite you back here to provide some color commentary. What we're going through.
Good.
Sure. Okay, thanks, Mark. So just again, this is live site. Look at the home page. You know, we can see they've created these tiles. You know, it's the language of the design. And we'll just look at one other page. So of course their content pages aren't all tiles, but again, this is section landing pages, call to actions, things like that. So if we look at working with Enbridge, we see this page, they have the top, and they're using a few different tiles here to build out you know, the experience, the navigation, how users can discover content there. So just to set the framework that, you know, this is what the site looks like. And I will navigate now to the search page. So just the search page, this is no keywords. So the search page comes in. You can see this very much resembles the home page, the other content pages. And this is actually built with the same tiles and can be used to populate those pages as well with just dynamic relevant content. So we look at these search results. These, we have no keywords. We have no other context other than our date. So this is what we're seeing now. The context will be the most recent content items added to Enbridge.com. Just scroll down, see a few more results. So the first thing I want to do here is look at Calgary. So I'm in Calgary, Alberta. It has IP detection. So it knows I'm in Calgary, but the search doesn't know I'm in Calgary yet because I've checked view results near me. So we're going to see how the results change here by adding the context of the customer to these search results. So we can see by clicking that, these results, again, no terms, just my context, have pivoted to be very Calgary-centric. The Enbridge Ride to Conquer Cancer is an Alberta event they do every year. Alberta Children's Hospital, more things in Calgary. And now just to show you how this works, I'm going to change my city to Houston. So as I change it to Houston, we're going to see all the results have changed now. You know, now we're seeing content. This is their CEO. He was at an event in Houston, information about the Houston Chronicle, offshore pipelines in the Gulf, you know, right in Texas. So we're seeing just right now how this content's switching. And if I just switch back to Calgary quick to set the stage for the rest of this. And I'll show you guys a little cheat I might be doing throughout this. I might tap viewing the results near me. Just a quick double tap, it's going to change the visual treatment of the results. So if you see the results blinking, I'm just using that as a cheat to give us a new rendering to see more results of the tiles. So if we look in results here for Calgary, so I'm just going to dig into a few results here. If we look at this leading edge medicine result and this blog post for Calgary area nonprofits, one thing I want to show on this blog page or this article is that the content down the right side is actually driven by Coveo. So we can see this content, it's about the Alberta Foundation here, fundraiser for hospital equipment, more healthcare, healthcare widening in Saskatchewan. So this content is actually being populated, or the call to actions down the side are automatically being put in place from Coveo based on the content of the article. So if we look at this, we can see completely different call to actions down the side, but these are automated. They're always made on point. They're always made relevant. And so all the content author has to do is worry about creating the core content, and Coveo is going to populate the rest of the page with relevant content to support it. So even right there, it's a very small case, but you can see how Coveo as a relevance engine can be used to lift a great burden from content authors in creating supporting content. And here, if we'll go back, I'd like to show you the Enbridge blog homepage. So again, this is just another version of search used within the same site. So this is Coveo here. We've just put a slightly different skin on it, but we still have the exact same component driving the search. So now the results are scoped only to blog results, and we're forcing the more visual treatment of search results. So we can see again, I can use our location, click near me. We're seeing the same results here. We can filter by topics, to drill down and search. And all this stuff is leveraging Coveo, right? This is the kind of stuff that Coveo lets us do out of the box, that if we just get, a little clever with it, we can get a lot of value across the site we're using it. So even here, for example, I'll search Calgary. So now we're using the search, location, topics, can create a much more specific experience in this context than on the global search page. So the next example I'd like to show is stock prices. So their stock is ENB, so I'll search the ENB stock price. And what we'll see here, I'll not use this view results near me button, but you can see we're searching for the stock price. Our results are the price lookup quote chart, but we're actually getting these stock prices back as results. So here, these aren't necessarily pages of content, but they're still assets of relevance, right? So someone's searching for something, they might think they're going to get a page, but we can actually shorten their experience and give the customer what they're looking for by being able to feature assets that aren't traditional pages, right? We're actually servicing the users right here in the search results. So if I'm just going to click the view results near me a couple times, toggle it, I'd like to show a few different treatments of the stock tiles. Okay, this is the one I wanted. So here, again, it's the same results. We've just enforced a couple different views here. And this stock tile is actually an interactive view of the stock. So we're looking at the 5-year view, the 1-month view. And here right in the search results, we can, take a slice of it, highlight it, zoom in. So again, these aren't normal search results, right? They're really rich functionality, full functioning components that we'll be able to deliver in context. And we'll also notice that, stocks of all things don't really have results near me, so that doesn't actually affect the order on that one. But if I was to scroll down here to tie it here together, this is a your question. So this is what like an FAQ style search result would look like. So instead of surfacing the page, we're surfacing the individual results here. So yeah, sure, let's see what this would look like. So here's the answer. Use the breadcrumb, navigate back to your questions. which is similar to the blog homepage in that we're using Coveo, we're using all its power, but we're using it in a different context and able to create a slightly different experience here.
So Dan, this is an interesting one. This is an FAQ unlike anything I've seen before, because normally they're pretty dry. This is clearly much more visual.
Yeah, it's buckle up, Mark. Well, so here we'll see as we start to type. So we're even using different features of Coveo in different places. So I'm going to start to type for Spectra. Try to type slowly here so GoToMeeting can keep up. But in here, even this auto suggestion we're doing is scoped to the FAQ section. We're not getting the broad site suggestions. We're getting specific suggestions about the content we have in front of us right here. So I'll say my question, sure, we'll pick this one. So we're using Coveo, again, as this FAQ question and answer portal to have the users be able just to ask whatever they want, whatever they're looking for. And also at the same time, if I clear these results, we're leveraging Coveo to get the real-time counts of what we have across different types of questions. So we've got 2 innovation and technology questions. We can click safety here. We're going to add 11 more. So it really gives us a powerful way to be able to filter, navigate, again, allow the user to empower themselves to find the information they want instead of just scrolling through lists. If I'll queue up my next sample here, just to show you everything ties back together. So we have pipeline safety. I click the facet, and we'll scroll down. We'll say, okay, how deep are Enbridge's pipelines buried? Valid question. So I'll just jump back to the search, say I'm coming at it from a different place. I want to know what Enbridge's pipeline depth. So you can see here, this is the same FAQ answer. We were just looking at surfaced and search given the your questions treatment. And again, I'll just use the view results to toggle there so we can see again the same answer. We give it the 2-wide visual treatment instead of the single wide. And I guess things have single wide. Or single width, I'd say here for tiles for mobile as well. So as we get to a mobile experience, we no longer have the luxury of showing things 2-wide, things collapse to single. But also, right, we want to be able to show these anywhere we want on the site, whether it's in a narrow column or featured in the middle of a page. So that's why things have this versatility to them when we're looking at search results. This one, next thing I'll demo here is videos in the search results. So we had some videos embedded on the home page. I'll search for something that I like to do, making memories. And I'm going to use the view results near me again because this is entirely random using all the different styling attributes that a content author has available in Sitecore. Coveo is actually randomizing those to create these random experiences. You'll notice we never get 2 tiles styled alike beside each other. Okay, I click it one more time and I get the double wide. You start to hover search results. You can see that we have a preview tile playing. So I mean that's a pretty cool use of video, I think, in search results. And I'll do a slightly less realistic search here just for the purpose of showing the breadth of videos we have and what a potential other page could look like if you're using this content to drive a page. So here, and I guess something to show here as well is this is Sitecore, this is Coveo, and this is our video provider Brightcove. So we're using Coveo and Sitecore and them all together in concert to deliver these results. So you can see they've got doggy smiles, making memories, leaving, and as we scroll down we can see all these things will play in real time. Pretty neat. Next example, because I was at stock before here, was documents and filings. This might be relevant to anyone that has to deal with a IR. So I'll search reports and filings because with a good search it's easier to search for it than it is to go through the menu. So here's an example where Enbridge has all their reports and filings for regulations, stocks, or publicly traded company and all these things. So we can see everything they have here, but we're using Coveo to be able to filter on the types of information we have. So if we want annual reports, we want annual information, we can let the user navigate. We can, set date ranges from 2011 to 2016, for example. And we can also, if you're like me and you'd prefer to use search instead of filters, just tell the website what you want. I want annual reports. So I'll search here. We can see we're getting a list of all the annual reports back. And then this is the kind of flexibility we have building things on Coveo, where not only are we able to search multiple documents attached to an item, like the annual report, but here I'm clicking these items for download. I'm going to click download all selected reports. And here in comes a zip file full of these 4 items that I was easily able to find just, on my own volition through search. Didn't have to make a request to the IR department, didn't have to, bounce around to different pages, just have the centralized content discovery like we can do with Coveo. Creates a really good experience for their investment researchers. We've got 3 more things to show you here for site examples. So heating my home. Enbridge has part of their business is just, electricity to houses. So why is my energy bill what it is? What can you tell me about heating my home? So again, we can see for heating my home, they have FAQs coming up, branded, obviously visible that these are questions. They're not links to pages that have questions. But what's much more interesting is we've searched heating my home, and now as part of this dynamic stream of content we're getting, we have a survey, right? So this is where, again, it's not its own page, but to be able to give this to a user in context is amazing. If you just have heating my home on the home page, what's the traction going to be? But if I'm looking for information about heating my home and I present it with a survey, well, I mean, that's exactly what we want, right? That's the person that's going to click on it. That's the person we want to hear from. And also, before I click with this, I'll click it. I'll say natural gas. Actually, forget it. I'm from the 1800s. I think heating oil is going to be great. That's the future. So I'll submit my answer. So here I'm replying again, like everything else. This is a self-contained component in search results, which is a stream of relevant content, and I'm able to interact with the survey. And if I just to show, if I reload the search page again, here's again a slightly different view. You can see I've already taken the survey. It's aware of it. It's the living component, right? It's the exact same way the survey will be elsewhere in the site, is how it's presented here in search. And I'll just go. How are we doing for time, Mark?
We're running out.
Okay, shoot. Okay. Well, I'll just do a quick look at maps here. I'll skip other parts of these demos and just show, all the map assets. Like I said, all the location, everything has a location. It appears on the maps, everything from their community investment to infrastructure.
Hey, Dan, we also have a question on the maps, actually, which while you're doing that, you could think of, which is, how is proximity calculated, and is content tagged for each location to aid it? So maybe you can chew those through as you explore the map.
Sure. Yeah, so I'll quickly bang through this. So I'm searching Canada. I'm going to get all the map assets we have here in Canada. Conversely, I could search wind. You can see these green markers where all the different wind infrastructure assets Enbridge has. Line 9B, this project. So you can see here, then we get the tight zoom. We only have one match. So the map's just, Coveo is giving us the content. We got line 9B. So of course we can interact with the asset, get the information about it. And another example of a map asset, I like this name, Gas Metro. You can see we're going to search for it. We're going to get the actual polygon here. So it's a really dynamic way to be able to, by name, find what they're after. Then if we go in here for search results again, type Gas Metro in the main search, the exact same map component that we were just looking at there, that was really just a very grandiose tile. It's the exact same tile here with the exact same keywords, returning the exact same information. So if we were to type in pipeline assets, here we have search tying in with the map, giving us, these are the actual assets they have. They're authoring them once in Sitecore and getting all this value out of them. So to answer the question specifically about location, on this website, there's an integration where in the content items, there's just a field. And if the user types in the name of where the asset is, whether it's the city, the province, press save, that gets sent out to an API, and we get the latitude, longitude, the province, the state, the city, the country. We get all that rich location data back. So that just becomes an embedded part of every item when the author presses save. And then we use Coveo, what's called a ranking expression in Coveo, to determine how relevant they are from the user's current location. So there's a quick calculation and that becomes part of the relevancy modeling. And if we could just quickly show a cool concept here for the 404 page. I'll say heating my home. Enbridge, we were just looking at that earlier. I think I'd bet a breakfast that they don't have a heating my home page. So the top's a traditional 404, but you can see at the bottom, we've actually delivered the results based on the URL, even though it's not found. So it doesn't take too much, I think, to see a concept like this and think how we could just start building pages of relevant content on the fly. Even if a page doesn't exist, we just, we could do wind energy pipelines. Doesn't even make sense, right? But you can see Coveo's proactively suggesting us, right, trying to guide us, keep us in place. So, when we think about site migrations and things like that, this is a bulletproof fallback that maybe even gives a better experience than it would if we had to manually create these pages, to just dynamically create these 404 pages of relevant content.
That's awesome.
So I think that's the end of the presentation of the website. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us through that. So just to go back to the presentation quick. I hope everyone can see this. The Coveo is our magic bullet. We can author content wherever we want on a website in Sitecore, but use Coveo just to flatten the IA, right? No matter what the content is, its type, where it's located, etc., we can just get it straight to the customer. We've seen that with a platform like Coveo with relevance, it's incredibly versatile for how we can build results and the solutions that we can create to drive those results to the users. And it gives us the big thing here I've got bolded is that it allows us to use the context of the customer to retrieve all those results, right? So we can implicitly take a persona, the user's attributes, their location, and drive the content to them automatically. That's just something you can't do on another platform without a technology like this. Then to maximize the value of authored content, like we're seeing with the maps, like we're seeing with surveys. It's when you create one thing, you only create it once, but because of the dynamic way that Coveo can deliver it and target it, it's really like putting $1 down and getting $3 back. For every piece of content we create, we can do so much more with it. Next slide here. So Mark, can I hand it over to you?
Sure. Dan, thank you very much. I guess the summary of this, and I know we're running tight on time, folks. Hopefully that was valuable. But think of Coveo as being able to help drive that more engaging experience where less time is spent authoring, more kind of automated contextual content is coming from the machine learning capabilities because it provides this way of automatically offering up suggestions. You saw Dan's example of the 404 page, where Coveo is effectively saying, well, maybe you meant this, and that just opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Next slide. So, and if we just build this one out, why the two together? Both organizations have worked very closely. We've got about 300 different Coveo and Sitecore, or combined Coveo and Sitecore deployments. And there's over 100 different organizations across the globe that are working with both technologies. And the key thing about it is that both firms are obviously recognized as leaders by the respective analyst firms as well. So you're in safe hands. Next slide. And you, in fairness, wouldn't be the first to look at it. So, you know, you can see the Enbridge logo up there, but there are several other firms who have adopted the Sitecore and Coveo combination, obviously doing different things, working with various partners, you know, from website search to intranet deployments and the like. And with that, next slide. We also really focus on making sure that we can fit into the environment that is appropriate for you based on what your Sitecore infrastructure is, whether you are running your own infrastructure, so-called on-prem, or indeed taking advantage of the various cloud-based offerings that Sitecore has. You know, the Coveo cloud is where we frankly prefer to deploy because we can bring all of our machine learning capability to bear as well. Next slide. And so with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your time. My apologies that we ran tight on this. We have a couple of questions that have come through on the chat, and I'll deal with them really fast, Dan. What was the time of implementation for the Enbridge site, and what are the phases? Can you just speak to the journey there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the Enbridge site, I'd say totality from design thinking through build was a year for phase one. I'd say focus on 9 months development. If we look at the search part of it, the search thinking actually didn't take that much work. It just took some planning up front to be able to pull off such an integrated experience. Yeah, and I mean, Enbridge is constantly investing in their website. So I mean, we might have seen some stuff there that wasn't part of the initial February 2016 launch that was released throughout the year. But you know, search and everything we're looking at in its core was definitely part of that build. And I don't look at the search work as being a tremendous part of the build, I guess, for time either.
Fair. And then maybe a final question, just as we wrap up here. Question: how does Enbridge, or for that matter, any client, measure the success of such an implementation? Do you have a sense of what they regard as success?
Well, I mean, I know one reason. I mean, there's a couple ways to measure success as an organization. I know one way they feel it a lot internally is I guess the reduction in time they spend in Sitecore, right? So even internally, right, it's been great for them to enable Sitecore build this digital platform where they can you know, measure their success using all the things, you know, all the accoutrements that Sitecore has for goals and analytics and measurement. But I know internally the amount of work that Coveo does for them, and just generally Sitecore with the ecosystem that they have to build on, like they don't spend time on microsites, they don't spend time going back to IT for things anymore. You know, they really have like a flexible, customer-centric platform now. So, I mean, anyways, it's a complex question. It would be better for Enbridge, I think, to speak to that than me, unfortunately. But
all right. Well, Dan, I know we're out of time here, so I just want to thank you very much for your participation in this and for showcasing the work. It's a beautiful site. And I'd like to thank everyone for your attendance on the call today. We will follow up for those questions we didn't get to. We will follow up in person, and obviously we'll be following up with an email linking to the recording of the webinar and other assets as well to enable you to take some next steps. So thank you all very much for your time. We sincerely appreciate it. Have a great day.